A Trump Tower has been proposed.
What Australia's first Trump Tower will...
Site set on the Gold Coast with a Trump Tower being proposed.
A 340-metre monster is rising in surfers' paradise, finally sealing the 20-year deal for the Trump brand on the Gold Coast. This $1.5 billion titan stands 91 stories high on loose beach sand that shouldn't naturally hold its weight. Can engineers keep this golden giant from tilting into the ocean, or is it doomed to sink into the surf? The story of this massive project did not start with a giant crane, but with a simple phone call. In 2007, a property developer named David Young from the Altus Property Group made a cold call to Ivanka Trump. He had a vision to bring the world-famous brand to the heart of surfers' paradise, but the world was not ready yet. For almost 20 years, the project faced huge setbacks as the economy changed, and other developers tried and failed to build on the site at 3 Trickett Street. David Young never gave up on his dream, and on Valentine's Day in 2026, he finally sat down in a gold-covered room at Mar-a-Lago to sign the deal with Eric Trump. This site has a very dark history that locals remember well. It was once the home of the Iluka Resort, a famous 20-story tower from the 1970s that had to be torn down in 2013 because of concrete cancer. This happens when salt from the ocean air gets inside the concrete and makes the steel bars rust and expand until the building falls apart from the inside. After that, a Chinese company called Faris spent $40 million on the site but ran out of money, leaving a giant hole in the ground for years. Now that the deal is signed, engineers have to figure out how to put a 340-meter tower on a site where everyone else has failed. How do they plan to keep this massive weight from sinking into the sand? The biggest challenge for this tower is something called the Surfer's Paradise Sand Lens. Most of the Gold Coast is not built on solid rock, but on a deep layer of loose sand that is completely soaked with water. If you put a heavy building on this sand, the weight will squeeze the water out and cause the sand to move. This leads to a scary problem called differential settlement, where one side of the tower sinks faster than the other. To stop this, the team is building a giant watertight box deep into the earth. They use something called diaphragm walls, or D-walls. These are 1.2-meter thick walls of reinforced concrete that go down more than 40 meters. To build them, workers use a special machine to dig a deep trench. Because the sand is so loose, the hole wants to collapse instantly, so they fill the trench with a thick liquid called bentonite slurry. Bentonite is a special clay made from old volcanic ash that has a very strange property. When it is still, it acts like a thick jelly, but when it is moved, it turns into a liquid. This slurry is heavier than water, so it pushes against the sides of the trench and stops the sand from falling in, while workers lower a giant cage of steel bars into the hole. Once the steel is in place, they pour concrete from the bottom up, which pushes the slurry to the top so it can be cleaned and used again. But even these massive walls are not enough to hold up a 91-story tower. To carry the real weight, the builders have to reach the bedrock hidden far below the sand. This rock is known as the Neranlay Fernvale beds. Engineers will use bored piles that are up to 2.4 meters wide. These are like giant concrete legs that are drilled through the sand until they hit the rock. They are then locked 17 meters deep into the bedrock itself, making sure the tower is bolted to the planet. By the time the foundation is finished, the building is sitting on hundreds of these concrete legs. But once you have the building standing steady on the ground, how do you keep the wind from knocking it over at the top? At 340 meters in the air, the wind is a powerful force that can make a building shake. When wind hits a flat tower, it creates a strange effect called the Kármán vortex street. As the air flows around the corners, it breaks into swirling circles called vortices. These circles take turns forming on one side and then the other, which creates a rhythmic push that can make a building vibrate or gallop. If the building shakes too much, the people in the luxury apartments will feel sick and afraid. To prevent this, the Trump Tower uses aerodynamic sculpting. This means the corners of the building are rounded or tapered so the wind cannot grab onto them easily. The designers also included blow-through floors. These are special levels with no windows or walls that allow the wind to blow right through the middle of the skyscraper instead of pushing against it. This reduces the total wind load and makes the structure much more stable. To make the tower even steadier, engineers will install a 700-ton tuned mass damper near the 90th floor. This is a giant weight that acts like a massive pendulum. When a strong wind pushes the building to the left, the weight moves to the right. This creates a counterforce that stops the building from swaying too much. It is like having a giant invisible hand holding the tower still during a storm. But if the building is this tall and stable, how do you move people from the ground to the top without them waiting forever for a lift? Moving people up 91 stories is a massive technical challenge. You cannot have residents in a 6-star hotel waiting 5 minutes for an elevator. The Trump Tower will use some of the fastest lifts in the world, traveling at speeds of up to 10 meters per second. This means you could reach the top in less than 40 seconds. However, there is a big problem with elevators in very tall buildings: the weight of the cables. Traditional elevators use heavy steel ropes. In a tower this tall, the steel cables are so long that they become incredibly heavy. In fact, steel ropes can become so heavy that they eventually break under their own weight, meaning they cannot hold the elevator car or any passengers. To solve this, the tower is expected to use a new technology called cone ultra rope. This rope is made of a carbon fiber core and is about 1/7 the weight of steel. Because the rope is so light, the building does not have to support thousands of tons of extra dead weight. This also saves a lot of electricity and allows the elevators to keep running even when the wind is blowing hard, because carbon fiber does not sway as much as steel. During the building process, the team will use jump lifts. These are special elevators that actually grow along with the building. Instead of workers having to climb stairs or use slow outside hoists, the elevator machine room jumps up the shaft as new floors are finished. This makes the construction process much faster and safer, saving hundreds of thousands of man-hours. But how do the builders get all the concrete and steel to the site on time when they are working in the middle of a busy city? The site at 3 Trickett Street is very tight, with no room to store extra materials. This means the builders must use a system called just-in-time delivery. Every single truck carrying concrete or steel is timed to arrive at the exact minute it is needed. If a truck is late, the entire crew has to stop working, which costs a lot of money. If too many trucks arrive at once, they will block the Gold Coast Highway and cause a massive traffic jam. This requires a computer system to track every vehicle and coordinate with the city's traffic controllers. The pressure is on because the 2032 Brisbane Olympics are a hard deadline for the project. The developers want the tower to be finished so it can be the star of the Gold Coast when the world's tourists arrive. This project is expected to create 6,000 construction jobs and provide a permanent home for 500 hotel staff. Even with all this high-tech engineering, the project still faces a lot of criticism. Some people are worried that a 340-meter tower will cast too much shadow on the beach, or that it is too big for the area. Others are concerned about the political brand and the history of the developer, David Young, who has faced financial troubles in the past. Despite these concerns, the local government welcomes the investment of $1.5 billion because it will boost the economy and bring a new level of luxury to Australia. The tower is planned to be finished before the end of the decade, making it a new landmark that people will see from kilometers away. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the engineering of Australia's tallest building, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories about the world's most incredible structures. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on the biggest projects in the world.